straight back into that courtroom in Missouri where the prosecutor is starting.
And Miss Renick, for her crime that she's committed and that I'm asking to find her guilty of, won't get that. Ben Renick won't get to see his children won't get to see him. Ben Renick won't get to see his family won't get to see him. Even though Lynlee's going to prison for the rest of her life, she can still have a family. Lynlee and 3 of her co-workers, friends, ex-boyfriends, whatever you want to call them, conspired to kill her husband. 4 people were involved in this conspiracy. Of those 4 people, only one person had a motive to kill Ben. Only one person of those 4 people had a connection to all 4 people. Of those 4 people, only one person, in covering up this crime, listened to the Facebook chatter and social media chatter and decided to help cover up this crime by casting attention and the scent of law enforcement away on the victim's brother. Only one person continues to lie. Of those 4 people, that one person is the defendant, Lynlee Renick. Okay. We may not know for certain whether Michael pulled the trigger or whether she pulled the trigger, but this was her conspiracy. This was her party. This was her plan. And you got to remember, when you sift through the evidence, what she's telling Michael at these private meetings she and Michael are having in the waiting or the spa room and at her house his house when she goes down there without Ashley. That's what Lynlee is telling him. He's not communicating with Rachel or Ashley. What Lynlee is telling Ashley, Michael is not present for. And most importantly, the only time 2 of these co-conspirators are kind of together to hear the same thing is when the 3 women are at the spa smoking a cigarette, and Rachel testified here yesterday, and said, this defendant told her, I'm getting ready to load up with Michael, go out to the snake facility and kill my husband. That's the one person that's on trial today. Nobody else. Now, if you look at the evidence of this plan, it's a pretty well thought out plan. And it's corroborated not only by these different witnesses saying what happened, but if you look at all these text messages, there was a poisoning incident. Now they're going to, well, there's no toxicology report. Well, poisons dilute from your body after a couple of weeks.
Objection.
They're going to say,
objection.
They have a sidebar. I think he said the word murders. Jack Rice is with me from Minnesota, criminal defense attorney. Thank you for joining us. Is that what you caught? What are your thoughts about why they are having a sidebar during a closing argument, which we know is not typical?
Yeah, it's not typical. I think what we're looking at right now is a reference to that previous attempt. And the question is how much of that gets to come in here? I think realistically it does get to come in because it is actually consistent with what her friend Ashley actually talked about. And so this is evidence that was already presented at trial, and you get to talk about evidence that was presented at trial. But I think what the defense is trying to do is potentially, one strategy could be to kind of sort of put some sand in the works to kind of slow the prosecutor up. Sometimes you'll see that. But I think in this particular case, he's trying to make sure that we don't get too diverted from this old case and focus on the new case. I'm not quite sure the logic of that, but I'm watching just like you are.
And Jack, what do you think of the fact this is obviously a murder trial with convoluted set of facts with other people who were allegedly involved testifying, and they have gone through all of the closings. We had some motions hearings yesterday in this, openings. I said the wrong thing. Opening statements, presentation of 16 witnesses by the prosecution, presentation of witnesses, including the defendant by the defense. We had a motion by the defense that was denied to dismiss all of this. We had some preliminary evidentiary issues yesterday with testimony. The jury instructions have been hammered out. They've been given to the jury, and we're in closings. This trial started Monday morning, and we are now on Wednesday at 5:13 Eastern Time. Talk about a fast trial.
Yeah, I am actually blown away by this. When you realize how fast it happens, you really hesitate. You really do.
All right, let's see if he's back to his closing argument.
Okay, proceed. I was describing how there was evidence of this poisoning. And we all know from our life experiences what happens after you ingest something, whether it's a beer that night or a drug a couple days before. It slowly dissipates from your body. But the important thing about that is there's these text messages, there's these social media where they're talking about having been poisoned. And if you read them carefully, while Ben is joking with his friend about being poisoned, injected in there based upon all his doubts and concerns about the status of the marriage is a statement that they didn't point out to you, but was on that statement, was maybe you're...
We do have to squeeze in a break, but you are not going to miss any of the closing arguments. We'll be right back here on Court TV Live. Two live trials. We are monitoring what's going on in the courtroom in the Potter case in Missouri. But right now we want to take you back to the case, Potter's in Minnesota. In Missouri, we're going to take you back now to the closing arguments. The prosecutor is continuing his closing argument. You have not missed anything, so we're going to take you back to that now.
Now, you hear all the other text messages. There's financial issues, there's marital issues, there's sex issues, and they all lead up to what date? June 8th. And there's a plan involved. After they failed in trying to poison him, and again, these geniuses didn't come up with a good plan, a smart plan. Any time to kill somebody is not smart, it's not good. But it doesn't have to be a smart plan. It doesn't have to be a good plan. These courthouses, those prisons, they're filled with geniuses like this that do dumb things for dumb reasons and for a lot less money. But that's what they did here. And they orchestrated a pretty elaborate plan. We're going to have a date night, have a babysitter up. And this is all about alibi for them and for Lynlee. We're going to have a babysitter ready to go. And I'm going to fake a headache in that morning. And we're going to drive out there and kill Ben and come back. And when he doesn't pick up the kids, the school's going to call me in Columbia, and I'm going to have an alibi. And I'm going to rush home and be the surprised, scared wife about what happened to my darling husband who, to quote her, it's a pretty darn elaborate plan. And the text messages are all there to establish that plan. Even Miss Renick at one point acknowledged, when I read those text messages to her, she said, well, that's not my story. I said, I know it's not your story, but is it a reasonable interpretation that some of us would believe that that is bolstering and evidence consistent with this conspiracy that the state is proving? And she acknowledged it was. But if we're trying to decide whether Miss Renick these individuals are telling the truth, remember when we were up in Clay County, you all promised me, and I asked you to consider the fact that they were getting deals, whether they should get, whether you automatically disbelieve them because of that. And you all said you'd consider all the evidence, and I appreciate that. Everything these witnesses said was essentially backed up by evidence in this case, and your life experience of how people would react. Miss Renick, none of what she said is bolstered or backed up by any life experience. She knows her husband has been in a shed with a man, and she doesn't know the number, but a number of rounds have been fired off in a weapon. And she says she's so traumatized by that and how Humphrey acts that she's scared and concerned. But it doesn't dawn on her to call 911 at any point in time until she sees a dead body. It doesn't dawn on her even when she sends text, Ben, I'm getting worried, to call 911. She has time for the lover, but not for 911. And more importantly, It doesn't dawn. What she does, not call 911, she's busy making her alibi stronger. She's texting the babysitter, hey, I'm gonna be a little late. She's dealing with the school, and she's sending text messages to Michael Humphrey as the two of them discuss as if he had just gotten a massage that day, and he's coming back tomorrow. Now, she would have you believe one of the most unbelievable stories I've ever heard, and that is, he's not coming back for a massage. I want to question him about those bullets. And you know what? If those bullets were target practice at a snake, or one got loose and he shot it to save Ben's life, you know who would be calling Lynlee since she left the facility? Is Ben. Ben would be calling her saying, hey honey, did he tell you what happened? None of that happened. And she didn't even think anything about it. Well, she thought about it, but she decided she's going to stick with her alibi and invite this guy who just let go a bunch of rounds in her shed with her husband, the father of his children, her children, that she doesn't want to die. She's going to invite that fellow back the next day to talk things over. Ladies and gentlemen, she is the only one that can stand to benefit from this crime. Rachel, Ashley, Michael, they don't care if he's dead. And there's been no reason given and no explanation given as to why Michael would just pull a gun out of midair and just start shooting this guy. Unless he was expecting some compensation from Lynlee, as he talked about. Lynlee would have you believe she just asked him as a favor, he was happy to do this favor, and when he showed up, he decided to kill this guy. When in fact, she says he counseled her about how he had just gone through something like this. Now, Michael told you Lynlee pulled the trigger. Rachel told you two different stories about what Lynlee told her about what happened in there. All three of those stories are the same, except for one of them, Lynlee, the first one, says Michael is the one that pulled the trigger. All of them are the same. Michael's story, both of Lynlee's stories. And the story is when we get there, we get out, we walk in, everything's normal. Lynlee's got a gun, or there's a gun, and he gets shot. And we leave. Lynlee's first story is Michael did it. A week or so later, she tells Ashley, I couldn't believe I could do it, I did it. There's been no refutation of that. Rachel Hunt was with Lynlee. No reason for any animus has been described as why Rachel Hunt wants Lynlee convicted of murder. Because that's what these individuals are doing. They're helping us and law enforcement and you convict Lynlee of murder in the first degree. There's been no showing that these people got together and conspired to convict Lynlee of murder in the first degree. No showing whatsoever. Lynlee had every opportunity to tell anybody what really happened. And I could have kept asking her questions, but I think we all heard enough. We know that when justice seekers, the police, were investigating this case and looking into who committed this crime, she knew, or her version is she knew. That's her version. She knew who committed this crime according to her, and she didn't tell a soul. She apparently tells Brandon Blackwell at some point in time, but then she later tells me the first person she tells is her attorneys. Now, but it wasn't that she didn't tell the police who did it. She covered up for who did it. Her and Ashley and Michael had a story. If the cops ask us why the three of us were together, let's talk about how Michael was going to put in this stereo. Not only is she not telling the cops who did it, she's covering up for who did it. And even worse, you've heard me say it before, and I'll say it one last time. Not only did she cover up and protect Michael, She continued to do so years later, and she told the police, based on internet chatter, a false lead of someone else to look at, the dead man's brother. Ladies and gentlemen, she's guilty of murder in the first degree. I need to go over here and put up one of the jury instructions for you and talk to you about that for a second. Judge, could I have that up?
The state is making their closing argument. They want Renick found guilty of first-degree murder. We're going to take a break, but we will pick up where we left off on the other side. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Ashley Wilcott. So happy that you've joined us. We want to go back in Missouri. The closing arguments have started in the case against Lynlee Renick. Right now, you haven't missed any of the closing argument being put forth by the prosecutor.
Why on God's earth would you ever contact this guy to ask him what really happened? If you really don't think anything happened to your husband's going to be around you. And she's so hysterical and so upset, she's able to correct a typo. Look at that. She's driving, distracted by driving, I presume. She's distracted by having just been involved in a murder, and she's got the mental acuity to correct a typo. When I think in a normal situation, most of us would have just let that go. But she's worried about her typos after committing murder. Michael responds and tells him he's almost home. And then says, maybe we can try this again tomorrow. And there's two things they could try again tomorrow. Murdering her husband or a massage as part of the cover story. That's why he was there. Well, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. I don't think they're going to murder her husband a second time, so they're talking about a massage. This is part of the cover story for the conspiracy that these people all are involved in. Let's make this look normal. Michael just had a massage. And she says, yeah, that works. And gives him a time to show up. Now, does she tell us this is a time so I can tell the cops? The guy that just killed my husband will be at my business at 4 o'clock? No. This is a time, according to her, and I submit to you in the annals of judicial prudence, one of the most unbelievable stories ever, that she wants him to come up there to just ask him about what all that noise was in the shed. The most ridiculous and ludicrous thing I think I've ever heard. And when Lynlee sends that to Michael, he agrees to come back up. Now, here's what I started to talk about was the jury instructions. And the judge read to you a bunch of those instructions, and I'm confident you're probably not tuning in when he starts reading the 4th and 5th one. It gets hard to follow along. You'll get a copy of them to go back. I've pulled out the first-degree murder instruction and what we call the elements of the things we have to prove. Remember when we talked about accomplice liability? If you help somebody commit a crime, you can be involved. So I think it's clear, and I'll admit to you, we all know Ben got killed. We all know there was a murder. The only question is this, is who pulled the trigger? And you'll see, it doesn't matter which one of these individuals pulled the trigger. If one of them pulled the trigger, if as a result Ben died, and if as a result they deliberated, murder in the first degree has occurred. The question is whether Lynlee is also guilty if you believe Michael did one of those elements. Well, if he did one of those elements, if he pulled the trigger, it's because she's asking him to be there as a hitman, as Ashley and Michael told you. She's offering to compensate him if he does this. Okay? If she did it all, and there's evidence to support that, she's also guilty of murder in the first degree. But let's take a look at the legal language, if we could. What this says is, as to count one, and again, I've cut off some language that is just boilerplate language that isn't actually things the state has to prove. But as to count one, if you find beyond a reasonable doubt that on June 8th, 2017, in the state of Missouri, the defendant or Michael Humphrey caused the death of Ben Renick by shooting him. We can all agree that happened. One of them shot him. The state has proven that. The defense concedes it. They said Michael did it. Second, that the defendant or Michael Humphrey knew or was aware that his or her conduct was practically certain to cause the death of Ben Renick. Well, if you shoot a guy 4 times in the back, and as the defense said, stand over him while he's on the ground and put a gun next to his head so close that it may be a contact wound, you're practically certain to have killed him. Third, the defendant or Michael Humphrey did so after deliberation. And deliberation means cool reflection upon the matter for any length of time, no matter how brief. And when it comes to deliberation, there is all kinds of deliberation and planning. It means planning, forethought. They're in a car for at least 45 minutes on the way out there. They've talked about this for a couple weeks. The purpose of going to get Michael was to get a hitman, to get a gun. This is pre-planned. And not only was what happened pre-planned, the cover-up was pre-planned in ways we have not seen, with all these fake text messages about massages. And I haven't even mentioned the ones to Ben. Ben's dead. She knows something. She knows he's dead. She wants you to believe she didn't know what happened, but knowing she knows he's dead and sending him, hey love, I'm going to be a little late. He's dead. And if he's not dead, her story doesn't make sense. Because she's worried and concerned about her husband, heard 8 rounds go off, and he may be dead or dying, and she's sending him a text message that says, hey, love, I'll be late. Why not send, if you're really going to send one to him and not actually call, or not call 911, the text message is going to be, hey, get back to me, I need to know what those gunshots were. Right? Now, but with this, there's one more element that has absolutely nothing to do with this crime. It deals with our juveniles, and it's if the defendant has to be over 18 years of age to be guilty of murder in the first degree. We've proven that. You were instructed that if we've proven all those, murder in the first degree has occurred. And again, the issue is whether Lynlee did this by herself or with Michael's help. And we know it was her plan. We know she offered Michael money, so if he did it, she definitely, for the purpose of promoting or furthering Ben, aided or encouraged Michael in causing the death of Ben. If she's offering him money, encouraging him, that's it. If she's done it all herself, she's guilty of murder in the first degree. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not fun being a jury. You have to look at all the evidence, and I've summarized some of it for you. The defense will get a chance to summarize it and talk to you and argue about it too. But I ask you to pay close attention and don't get sucked in by what I sometimes call the confusion illusion. Remember what the evidence was, not what the defense wants it to be. And I'll give you an example. We heard the defense attorney get up and talk about an opening statement how Lynlee Renick never had a gun in her hand, never once. And the very first witness they called, her babysitter, yeah, she's got all over her Facebook target practice photos. Not a big thing. It doesn't mean she got target practice, but that's an example of the evidence not being what the defense says. A bigger example was Miss Renick herself. She knows what those life insurance policies are. She knows a trooper wrote a report that wasn't clear, but the expert was here and told you exactly who gets this money. Okay? And the issue isn't whether she got the money or the money from the snakes, or whether the business was closed because Ben was tightening the bricks in 3 months. The issue is on the date of the murder. Was she worried about those things? Was she thinking about the money? Did she think she was going to get it? Did she think she was going to get it from Robin Leonard? Or did he pull back and not pay it all once Ben was dead? Ladies and gentlemen, it's not that she got it, it's what she thought. And her own employee, Lindsay Kerber, works for her, sat here and told her and you that life insurance policy went directly to her. It wasn't part of any trust. And they want you to go, oh, well, you know, the trooper said something else. Well, the trooper's not an expert on life insurance. Lindsay Kerber is. Don't be fooled by what they want you to believe the evidence is. Remember what it actually was. There's another charge in addition to first-degree murder. It's armed criminal action. And what that means is, in Missouri, if you commit a crime and you use a deadly weapon, a gun, you're guilty of the crime, and you're guilty of armed criminal action for using the gun, there's an instruction that says, hey, if you found them guilty and one or other used the gun, she's guilty of armed criminal action. Somebody used a gun out there. I submit to you it was Lynlee, but even if it was Michael, the evidence proves she's guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I'm asking you, Ms. King is asking you, and the Renick family is asking that you find her guilty of murder in the first degree and armed criminal action.